Okay, today we're looking at solving multiplication and division equations. Yesterday we looked at addition and subtraction equations, so today we're going to move ahead onto two other operations. You're going to find out this is pretty much the same as what we did yesterday, just by using different operations. So if you can remember, yesterday we talked about the addition and subtraction properties of equality. Today, the division and multiplication properties of equality. Basically, you can multiply or divide both sides of an equation and the sides remain equal. Here's a division problem. Remember, a fraction is a division problem. Because the variable is in a division problem, that means we're going to multiply to get the variable by itself. So the opposite of division is multiplication. Over here, we have a number by a letter, and we know that means multiplication. So we're going to divide to get the variable by itself here. So you're always doing the opposite operation. So just like we did yesterday, just as a reminder, you do the inverse operation to isolate the variable, which means the opposite operation. So if it's a multiplication problem, you're going to divide to get the variable by itself. If it's a division problem, you're going to multiply to get the variable by itself. So let's look at this problem. How would you get the variable by itself? First, you need to look at the problem and ask yourself, what kind of problem is it? Well, we know there's a number by a letter, so we know it's a multiplication problem. So we're going to divide. So to divide, to get n by itself, we're going to divide both sides by 24. Okay, so 24 divided by 24 is 1. So that just leaves us with n, because n times 1 is n. Now, 24 into 120, we need to work this one out, and that would be 5 times, let's see if that's right, 5 times 4 is 20, 5 times 2 is 10 plus 2 is 12, yes. So we know 120 divided by 24 is 5, so our variable n equals 5. Simple as that. Okay, let's try a few more. What kind of problem is this? B over 7 equals 42. Well, we know that fractions are division problems. This is really b divided by 7. Because this is a division problem, we're going to multiply. So I'm just going to rewrite it right here so we can see what we're working with. B divided by 7 equals 42. Okay? Again, it's division, so I'm going to multiply. So I'm going to multiply both sides times 7. And if you remember when we multiplied fractions, we can make this 7 over 1 if you want to. When you cancel these out, it gives us b over 1, which is b. So b equals whatever 42 times 7 is. So let's just come over here and work that out. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 4 is 28, plus 1 is 29. So in this problem, the value of b is 294. Now remember, we can go back and plug this in and see if it's right. Does 294 over 7 equal 42? Well, let's see. 7 into 294. Now remember, that's all this is, 294 divided by 7. 7 goes into 29 4 times. 4 times 7 is 28. Subtract, bring down. 7 goes into 14 2 times. 2 times 7 is 14. So we know it's correct. We checked our work. We know the value of b is 294. Hey, what about this one? This is a division problem. Y divided by 9, or y over 9 equals 12. Because it's a division problem, we're going to multiply. So we're going to multiply both sides times 9. And if you want, you can make it look like a fraction. These would cancel out, which will leave you with y over 1, or y equals, and we know 12 times 9 is 108. So that was a quick one. Okay. All right, here are several different problems that I've thrown in for us to look at. This one is a multiplication problem because it's a number by letter. So let's divide both of them. The opposite of multiplication is division. These will cancel out and leave us with m equals whatever 63 divided by 3 is. So let's figure that out. 3 goes into 6, 2, and 3 goes into 3, 1. So we know, I'm going to go ahead and erase this, that m in this case equals 21. We know 63 divided by 3 equals 21. Okay, and remember we could always plug this in to make sure it works. Okay, I'm going to move this guy out of the way for a second while we work on this problem. 85 equals 17R. Now I don't want you to be taken off guard if the problem is flipped around. It's okay. You still do the same thing. You're still going to work with the side where the variable is. So I need this variable by itself. And because it's a number by a letter, I'm going to divide because that's multiplying. I'm going to divide both sides by 17. These cancel, and this leaves me R equals whatever 85 divided by 17 is. Let's figure that one out. What could that be? 17 could go into 85. Let's try 5 times. 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 3 is 8. So here I know the answer, that the variable R is equal to 5. Again, you could go plug it in to make sure that you are correct. Very simply, if you can just remember that if it's a multiplication problem, you're going to divide. If it's a division problem, you're going to multiply. Okay, let's look at this one. This one's kind of got the variable on the other side as well. 24 equals C divided by 3. Well, this is a division problem, so I'm going to multiply. And because this is a fraction, I'm going to make my 3 a fraction so that I can cancel these out, and it leaves me just with C, because C over 1 would just be C. So I know 24, and I didn't do my times 3 over here. Remember, what you do to one side, you have to do the other. 24 times 3 is 72. So I know that in this problem, the variable C is worth 72. And again, you could plug it in to see if you were right on that. Now, this one I have taken straight from a DEA test that we've had this year. So I want you to look at it. You have 3/8 x. Now, while that looks like a division problem, look at the variable. It is a multiplication problem because it's 3/8 times x. So in this problem, we actually are going to have to divide. And we're going to have to divide both sides by 3/8. So this is going to be divided by 3/8, and this is going to be divided by 3/8. Now that looks really confusing, I know, but let's think about how we divide fractions. When you divide a fraction, let's go ahead and write down 3/8. When we divide it, remember we multiply it and we do the reciprocal. So we flip it over. So this would be times 8/3, and we still have the x, okay? Notice what happens here. This all cancels out and just leaves me with x. X equals, now if we're going to divide 24 divided by 3/8, let's move this over just a little bit more. 24 divided by 3/8 is going to look like this. 24 divided by 3/8. Well, that's just like saying 24 over 1. So let's keep, change, and now let's flip 8/3. See what I did? Okay, let's do some canceling here. That's a 1 because 3 goes into 3, 1, 3 goes into 24, 8. 8 times 8 is 64. Over 1 would be 64. So your answer here to your x is 64, and it would be C on your choices. Now, I know that one looked a little confusing, but if you take it step by step, you should not have any trouble with that problem. Okay, here's another one that I've taken straight from DEA, just to show you that you've been doing problems like this all year. It just gets a little confusing if you don't want to take it step by step. Okay, so on one side of the equation, we have x minus 5/8 equals 2 1/4. Okay, I need my x to be by itself. So this is the side I'm going to have to figure out what to do with. Because it's subtracting, I'm going to add. Okay, so I'm going to add 5/8 to this side, and I'm going to add, 5/8 to this side. Okay, now these cancel, and this leaves me with x equals 2 1/4 plus 5/8. And hopefully you remember that you cannot add fractions unless they have a common denominator. So I'm going to bring this down and say x equals 2 and how many eighths plus 5 eighths. Okay, so let's just change this. 2 and 1/4 is the same thing as 2 and 2 eighths. So now let's just add them up. Bring my whole number over. 2 plus 5 is 7. Denominator stays the same. So x minus 5 eighths equals 2 and 1/4. X's value is D, 2 and 7 eighths. And I know that one was really going back to adding and subtracting from what we did yesterday. All right, here's what I would like for you to do at home. For tonight's homework, you've got part 1, part 2, and part 3. So I want you to think about it, and I'm going to give you some hints here, so listen closely. This is multiplication because it's a number by a letter. That means you're dividing both sides. This is division because this is a division problem. You're going to be multiplying both sides. And back down here, to get this variable by itself, this is a number times a letter, so you're going to have to divide. Show me these 3 equations on your notes page with part 1, part 2, and part 3. I want you to write the equation, and then I want you to show me how you work the problem out using inverse operations. Okay, if you have any trouble, please go back through and watch the lesson again, and I will see you tomorrow in class. Good luck.